the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
SICK is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. SICK, 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 SICK.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
SICK, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
SICK, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. SICK, 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 SICK.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Bourque
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another of the TCS Podcast Network. Pierre McGuire joining us via phone and audio. He is on his way home from the CBS headquarters sports studio in Fort Lauderdale. Pierre, how are you, my friend?
Excellent. Nice to visit with you, Jimmy. Great job bringing on Raymond Bourque today. I cannot wait to speak to Raymond. That's
right. So we heard that moment that we play in our intro song every show. It's Ray Bourque hoisting the cup, and that happened 24 years ago today, Pierre. And I was actually just texting Ray, as I do every year in this day, to wish him happy anniversary or happy cup anniversary. And then he said, hey, why not have you on the podcast today? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the current Stanley Cup final and also some other NHL items. So looking forward to talking to Ray in about 10 minutes here on the eye test. But Pierre, just going back to Friday, it's been a bit since we spoke. And we did have a great game two, just as we did with game one, another overtime game. This one gets decided by Brad Marchand, 8:05 into the second overtime. And as you were just saying off the air, Pierre, the better team won. I mean, you can say whatever you want about that game, but when it came down to it, the better team came out on top.
Look at the face-off play. Edmonton got wiped out by almost 12%, number one. Number two, there were 100 hits in game number two. Edmonton had 40 of the 100. Florida had 60 of the 100. That's significant. And then the other thing that's really important, Brad Marchand found a way to make himself amazingly important in this series. He's been a good player the whole playoff for Florida, playing on a line with Luostarinen and Lundell. But you see the way he influenced the outcome of game number two. Pretty substantial. There was a lot to like, but this is a final one for me, Jimmy. I don't know how you feel, but, you know, I was worried about Stuart Skinner mano a mano with Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky was better than Stuart Skinner in game two.
I totally agree, Pierre. And I think the other thing, too, and I was going to bring up one of my big things was the faceoffs there. And then, you know, we saw them lead. They won the faceoff battle in game one, Pierre. But as you pointed out the next day, they didn't do much with it. Like, they weren't converting those faceoff wins into chances. And so that was a big difference there. They were able to find a way to do that in this game. And I agree with you, Marchand. I mean, I'm just seeing my poor friends that are Bruins fans here right now wondering, what the heck, man? I can't believe this. But, you know, he has just really put the team on his back in that game. And that's sort of the scary thing, I think, going forward for Edmonton in this series right now, Pierre, is that, you know, there's some star players on Florida, but the thing is like when one guy doesn't have it, they've got a guy like Marchand to depend on their third line. And here's another thing to keep in mind. And I wonder if you agree with me on this, Pierre. Barkov has not played his best hockey yet. And that's a scary thought to think that that's still coming if you're the Edmonton Oilers.
He doesn't have a point in this series yet.
Nope.
Think about that for 1 second. He's been great in the face-off circle. He's been really good killing penalties. He's been really good in shutdown situations. He's moved the puck well to make his wingers look better. Doesn't have a point. He's going to get points in this series before it's over. That's a bit of a problem. Don't forget now, too, really important going into game three, and I can't wait to talk to Raymond about that. Last change goes to Florida. This is not going to be very easy for their coach, Chris Knobloch, because he's got to make the hardest decision of all. Do you keep Draisaitl and McDavid together with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, or do you break them up? And the problem is Florida's got three lines that can play against those two players. They got three lines that can do that, and they've got four defensemen that can play against those guys. So that's why game three, Edmonton better get a lead and force Florida to chase the game, because if they don't, it's not just going to be a win for Florida, but it's also going to be, you watch physically what they're going to do to Edmonton if they get a lead. You watch.
I'm with you on that, Pierre. I totally agree. And by the way, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, a game-time decision, according to Knobloch, so we'll see what happens with that. A.J. Greer drawing back into the lineup for the Florida Panthers in place of Boquist, Pierre. There's another guy, like I'm not saying he's a scoring threat, but that's another depth guy that every time he's been called upon in the playoffs, he's delivered. And this is what's so scary about Florida, is that unsung heroes. They have so many of them, Pierre.
You know what's really scary? How many GMs fouled up on AJ Greer, how many fouled up on Tomas Nosek, and how many fouled up on Jonah Gadjevich. That's their fourth line. Every one of those players has played for at least 3 NHL teams, and they've been let go. Think about AJ Greer was drafted in the second round by Colorado, and you look at all the teams he's been with. Boston, he's been with Calgary, he's been with Colorado, as we just talked about. AJ Greer's moved around all over the place. Look at Gadjevich. He was in San Jose. He was in Toronto. You know what I mean? Go look at Nosek. Nosek's been with a bazillion teams.
He really has.
I mean, so I'm just telling you, this is another example of NHL hierarchy getting it wrong, and Billy Zito and his eye test people, led by Rick Dudley, getting it right.
Don't forget, and Bourque too. Another guy there. They got him, and he comes in and adds that speed element. And by the way, with Greer, Pierre, he was, he had a short stint in Boston there. But one thing I noticed about that guy, he treasures every day that he's playing in the NHL. And every athlete does. Every pro athlete does. I get it. But he just exerts this enthusiasm. Every day he'd come to practice. He was always in a chipper mood, joking with his teammates. And he's flat out says, I can't believe I'm a hockey player. And when you have a guy like that, and you can figure out how to start to get more of the skill set out of him too, he's going to help a team a lot.
Enthusiasm and passion matter so much when you go to the rink. The hardest part, and Raymond will tell you this, the hardest part of this time of the year is not playing the games. The hardest part are the off days and having to go to practice and putting your equipment back on every day. It's the hardest part of the year. But the games, that's easy. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, looking forward to talking to Ray in a bit here. Pierre, looking on the Edmonton side, we were talking off air before we came on with our producer Shane, and you mentioned Bouchard there. And like I said off air, I'll say it now. He is what he is, right? Like, I think people need to we accept it now. He's going to give you great offense, but he's going to make risky plays, and sometimes he's going to get burnt. Game 2 was one of those nights where maybe those plays backfired, right?
Here's what I'll tell you. He's not Al McInnes.
No.
Al McInnes, a Hall of Famer. Raymond played with him. He knows and played against him. You know Al McInnes. He's a really good player, but that shot is a major weapon for him. Like, the shot reminds me of Al, but the rest of his game does not. And so that's something he's going to have to continue to tidy up. I do think, though, to be fair to him, he's improved tremendously this year in terms of recognizing first pass outlets, defending in the neutral zone, and also making sure that he picks up away from the puck a lot better. So I think Paul Coffey and Mark Stewart have done a good job with him. But is it putting him at an all-star level right now? I don't think he's there yet, no.
We don't script this stuff. That was going to be my next question there. Paul Coffey, one of the defensive coaches in Edmonton, played a similar style. I don't know if you coached him, Pierre. I don't know if he made as many costly errors early on in his career, but a similar style. And I'm wondering, having a guy like that coaching you that can understand your game, but also, mentor you to remember the defensive side of the game. Do you think that's helped him along the way here?
100%. Same with Mark Stewart. But I'll just tell you this about Paul. I got Paul a little later in his career. I never had a problem with Paul. Paul's passion to play. You were talking about AJ Greer. Paul was always the first guy in the room game day, probably the last guy to leave. He's always riding the bike after games, always working on his body to try to fine-tune things. Was very receptive to coaching, would watch tape with you ad nauseum. I had nothing but great things to say about working with Paul. Nothing.
Yeah, and I felt like, early in his career, I get it. He was making some errors there, Pierre, but as he went on, he became much better defensively, right? I mean, he wasn't
one of the best things he ever said to me, Jimmy, and Raymond was part of this. He said, I kill penalties in the Canada Cup. Like, people don't know that. I'm not even allowed to kill penalties here in Pittsburgh. And that was the first year that I got there. So
right.
I'm like, well, we'll watch some tape. We'll check it out. We'll see. And you know what? He wasn't lying. He did kill penalties in the Canada Cup.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like he just had that tag on him. You know what I mean? Like, it just never left him. It wasn't fair.
I think early in his career, maybe it was more fair. But as his career went on, it was not fair. Definitely was not fair.
So here, getting back to this game tonight, we said that game 1 was a must-win for Edmonton. They got that. They lost game 2. Is this close to a must-win for them right now, or no? How do you look
for
at this
Edmonton?
game?
For Edmonton, I'd say yes.
Me too.
This is a critical game for them, because once you get closer, and Raymond knows what I'm talking about. I've gone through it twice. Once you get closer to that 16th win, and if Florida wins tonight, they're at 14. It's a harder equation to figure out if your team trailing. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you start to see light at the end of the tunnel, and you're the team that sees it, it's a way different feeling. Way different.
Yeah, and you kind of look at it, right, where it's like win-loss. I feel like the first team that wins 2 in a row could be the team that wins the series, the way it's going right now. So I'm with you on that. I think this is huge for them, especially being on the road as well. With game 4 being on the road, they could potentially go down 3-1. So that could get interesting if they don't do that. Pierre, off the topic of the Stanley Cup final, but in NHL news, a report came out yesterday in the Athletic that the Maple Leafs discussed a 3-team deal involving Mitch Marner that would have saw him end up in Las Vegas with the Golden Knights. And it would have been, the Carolina Hurricanes would have been involved in it as well. What's your take on that? Like, why are we hearing all this stuff now? Like, I feel like when these stories come out, it's just, who cares? It didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is just, they're dragging us on. Let's look forward. Stop looking back in terms of the Mitch Marner situation.
Oh, I think there's a lot of different things at play here.
Mm-hmm.
I think their team's trying to put pressure on Marner's camp. I think there are people trying to create a problem between the Leafs and Marner's camp.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot to this. Anytime you see those stories that are leaked out, and I texted this to you last night.
Yeah.
If those stories are leaking out and you don't see names attached to it, it's because someone's got an agenda.
Exactly. And I won't get into what we were texting about, but I had a similar situation happen to me, and I asked Pierre for advice on it because it seemed fishy, and it seemed like there was definitely a bigger purpose to what I was being told, and an agenda, as you said, Pierre. I'm with you on that. Like, I think that they're really trying to grease the skids for Marner to never return to Toronto and move on from there. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll tell you, though, one team that I wonder about with Marner, Pierre, I just don't know how they'd make it happen cap-wise. Could you ever see the Dallas Stars going after him?
Yeah, 100% I could.
Okay.
They were stockpiling money to sign, Mikko Rantanen, and they were able to do it. I think they'll stockpile money to maybe try to get Mitch Marner. The Ontario Hockey League's got, a lot of jam when it comes to player development and different players. And Jimmy Nill and the people in Dallas, I mean, every team in the league respects him, but I'm talking about the OHL. But, I mean, what Marner did with the London Knights is pretty spectacular. I mean, you have to go back to Patrick Kane to find a guy that did it before Marner did.
Right.
His record is really good. And I get it. People in Toronto are upset and they're mad. But I said on, a Toronto podcast today for Bet Rivers that I do every Monday called McGuire Mondays. Hey, I'm just telling you straight up, Jimmy, how are they going to replace him? Like, all these people want him gone. Okay, he's going to go. Who's coming in to replace him?
I know.
Who's
Nobody
getting 100 points for you? Who's going to get you 100 points for it? Like, I mean, I get it. You want to make roster changes, but I want to know who's going to play on the right side with Austin Matthews and Matthew Knies.
Mm-hmm. It's a great point. Nobody's talking about it. They're just all worried about getting rid of him. And so, like you say, you don't know what you got until it's gone. And I think that might be the case with some Leafs fans if and when he leaves. We'll see what happens there. Another team, too, Pierre, that I wonder is the Anaheim Ducks. And just, the fact they went out and they hired Joel Quenneville, I think that hiring obviously had a lot. It's about the team and getting a new coach and improving your roster, improving that. But I also think they can lure guys now in free agency with him. Like, they've got a lot more clout with him behind the bench. Would you agree?
Yes. I think it's a very slick and smart, savvy point by you, number one. Number two, Think about what I just said before. Patrick Kane's first pro coach was
Mhm.
Joel Quenneville. Who does Mitchell Marner look up to?
Mhm.
Patrick Kane.
Mhm.
Who did Joel Quenneville coach his 3 Stanley Cups in Chicago? Patrick Kane.
Yep.
You know, this was a calculated move by ownership in California and Anaheim. I think a very smart move by Pat Verbeek. We talked about it, Jimmy, when our good friend Greg Cronin got let go. I said, "There's the landing spot for Quenneville.
Mhm.
That's number one. People can talk about all these other jobs. Joel likes young teams and teams that have guys that can be stars.
Mhm.
They're a young team, and they got a lot of guys that are going to be stars.
Oh yeah.
Starting at center with Leo Carlson.
That's where I was just. He's something else, and I don't think enough people, obviously in the East Coast, they don't stay up enough
It's
to watch
okay.
him.
They'll start.
They'll know soon. They'll know soon. Trust me.
Hey, look,
'Cause this-
Anaheim went through this with Correa and Solani. They went through it with
Yep.
Getzlaff and Perry. I mean, this stuff. People forget this. The 07 team wins the cup. But you know why they won the cup? Scotty Niedermayer, Francois Beauchemin, and Christopher Pronger were all brought in by Brian Bourque.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I
they had all
remember
that other stuff there, but they didn't have those D.
Yeah. Yeah. Berkey really. That was. I mean, you look at that roster, Pierre. They had a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? They could play so many different types of games, and they could score. They were tough. The goaltending was there. He really did a great job constructing that roster.
Well, he did, and they had toughness. Travis. People forget about Travis Moen. People forget about all these tough Sean Thornton. They had everything.
Yep. Yep.
They had a lot of guys there. I mean, Fudge. I remember, going in there to do a game, and you had Sean O'Donnell, Francois Beauchemin, Scotty Niedermayer, Christopher Pronger on defense.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, Pierre, they also had a good defensive forward named Samuel Paulson, who was traded for our next
the
guest
Bruins.
here. In that trade, he went to the Bruins when Ray Bourque went to the Colorado Avalanche. And Ray Bourque is joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Hey, Ray, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're good. We got Pierre here. He's in the car driving home from Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, nice. Nice.
Doing some work down there with CBS Studios. Happy Cup anniversary, my friend. Sure the memories never get old, huh?
No, they never get old. I just get older, though. I can't believe it's 24 years.
I know, right?
It's amazing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Raymond, those of us have been fortunate enough to raise the cup. We all have different feelings. What was your feeling when you raised it over your head?
Just an amazing relief. Finally having it happen. We went to 2 cups with the finals with the Bruins and didn't really come close. And I talk about amazing players just having amazing careers, and they're talked about, and it seems like at the end of the conversation they always say, "But he's never won." I think it's so unfair to so many great players that had amazing careers and might have got close, but never really finished the deal. But it just tells you how hard it really, really is to win. Um, it's, I think I think any major trophy or any trophy is hard to win, but the cup, the grind, 9, 10 weeks of just every second night, pretty much playing the game at that level and that speed and that physicality. It's crazy, and so many things, regardless if you're favorite or not, have to go right. Have to, you got to get a little lucky. You got to stay semi-healthy or find ways to survive if you're not the healthiest. And there is no guarantees, and it's a grind. And for me, is 22 years. I knew it was going to be my last game, regardless if I won or not. And just the relief and the feeling, and it's an amazing run that you go through. But to be able to finish it off with your teammates that you've gone all year and went to battle with in the playoffs and getting it done, it's for me it was a relief, and just the joy and the celebration that comes with it is amazing compared to not having the opportunity to do that.
Ray, did you know that Joe was going to hand it to you that fast? Was that planned?
All he wanted to talk about on the way home after Game 6, when we were down 3-2 going to New Jersey and winning that game 4-0, he wanted to talk about how we were going to do the cup thing. And I was like, Joe, it's no time to talk about that. It's time to think about winning the game. And after we do that, we'll have plenty of time. But all he wanted is me to be right there, and he wanted me to hoist the cup first. So this is the photo that my wife got to me when we had our big celebration in August when I had the cup for 3 days. She had this done, and that says it all right there. I don't know if
Oh
you
yeah,
see it.
that's beautiful. That's a good one. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
that's
good stuff.
that's in the office here. So.
Pierre?
Raymond, everybody wants to play in the Stanley Cup final, but until they get there, they don't really know what it's all about. What advice would you give to the Edmonton Oilers going into Game 3 tonight in South Florida?
Just keep doing what they're doing right now. I think a lot of teams, the first time you get there, you're just so excited just to be there. Obviously, when you're playing and you don't realize that that's really the case. A lot of times that is the case, and I think you just look at how they went through all those rounds of the playoffs, and every round they won, it was like it was no big deal. They were all business, and you could see a difference in maturity in
Mm,
that team. And I think it's shown up here in the finals. Both games have been pretty much very, very similar, and it's been amazing to watch.
Ray, when you look at this playoff, has there been when you've been watching, has there been a defenseman that stood out to you a lot that maybe you didn't realize how good he actually is?
Um, no,
No.
you know, uh, I think the players that are playing have shown what they could do.
Hmm.
Jones, I think, was just in a place where he couldn't really shine, or you kind of knew uh, he probably had more to give, or a better player than where he has been. But the situation and just that atmosphere that is a non-winning atmosphere, it's tough for a player to shine and to play as well as you can, or to do your thing. And then I think, I mean, that's why I left Boston. I mean, I was in a situation where I was like, it wasn't that much that exciting to come to the
Hmm.
rink, and I was always one to come to the rink very, very excited, and I just had to find myself in a different situation, and it just revives you and it excites you, and coming to the rink, and just the energy it gives you to go out and do your job. I would think he's probably the biggest player, but it's not a surprise because I
Right.
think he has it in him. In Edmonton, their big guy on D, he's done it all year. Putting up good numbers, and and being the quarterback of the power play, and doing his thing back there. I think he gets criticized a little too much sometimes on maybe the lack of. Uh, maybe the odd mistakes he makes, but I think he brings so much to the game that I think is undeserved many times in his situation. So those are the two big guys on both sides. But you kind of know Florida's team now. They've been there 3 years in a row, and they got not the exact same defense core, but it seems like everybody that goes there uh, just gets better.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a situation in Florida, and Edmonton. They were good. They were good all year. Florida, they were fine all year, but you kind of thought that when it came to play the for real, they were going to be there just by the character of that team. And Edmonton had a little better probably year in terms of numbers in the standings, but
Right.
they've picked up their game in the playoffs, and especially after getting off to a slow start against LA and finding a way to win that series. I think that really gives you a shot in the arm when you do something like that, and it just propels you to be better and excites you and to move forward, and it certainly has for them.
Here.
You know, Raymond, you were a targeted player because you were so good, Raymond. And everybody in the league always had a plan to shut down the Boston Bruins and go after Raymond Bourque in a 7-game series. How would you prepare for something like that? Because you know Connor McDavid, even though he doesn't play defense the way you played defense, how do you prepare for something like that, Raymond, day in and day out?
Oh, it's not like it's just something new. You're used to it. I not that I'm Connor McDavid. I think I mean, he's targeted. You can't catch him, first of all, and what you do with him is just you just want to, you're not going to shut him down. You just want to kind of neutralize him and keep him to, from just dominating the game. But you know he's going to get his. For me, it wasn't so much about getting mine. It was about uh, really grinding me down. Yeah, I put up some numbers, but it wasn't like on Cam or Adam Oates or those guys. I'd be the guy kicking off the play, in my zone with a really good pass or a nice breakout or controlling the game from the backside. So, you go at different guys that play different positions, different ways, you know. And Connor is such a dominant, exciting, explosive, dynamic player. You just want to slow him down, control him a certain amount because you're not gonna shut him down. And his sidekick, Draisaitl, is right there with him. So Batman and Robin on that squad is the best duel that maybe may go down as the best duel ever when they team up together.
Ray.
Hey, Jimmy,
Go ahead,
Jimmy,
Pierre.
just before you
Yep.
get going, I just want to say something because we've been so humble. I was on the other side of it in 2 playoff series in the Eastern Conference Final, and I can tell you right now, huge portions of our planning were to inflict serious physical pain on Raymond, and he was an amazing player in those 2 series that I was involved with. So, tons of respect for Raymond and the way he played. So, Raymond, you're being far too humble. I'll just say that because I know I was
I
on the
know.
other side.
Well, I knew they were coming after me, but you know, I might not be the tallest guy, being 6 foot, but in stature and thickness and all that. Believe me, I was trying to punish guys myself. So
Oh, and you
might
did.
have been trying to get to me, but believe me, I was trying to get to you. So um,
I know you were.
Speaking Ray, switching gears, and speaking of a defenseman that's pretty thick but not tall, Charlie McAvoy obviously just his season went down the tubes with the injury and everything, and it was just such a tough year for him. I know you're a big fan of him. What was it like for you watching what he was going through, and also how much you think we're going to see a bounce back season from him next year?
well, definitely he's going to have a bounce back season. He came out of the Four Nations there. Unfortunately, things kind of got messed up with his injury, and he wasn't able to finish or play another game after that. So um, Charlie is an amazing player. Watching him play in the Four Nations, how physical he was and how dominating, he was in those couple of games he played. That's who he is and who he could be. And I think there's a lot of growth still in Charlie, and I think we're going to see it. Um, and so I'm a big fan. He's a great player, great person, and we're lucky to have him. So we're hoping that we have a major bounce back with the Bruins next year. I don't know how fast or how quick that could happen, but I think they'll definitely look to have this turnaround as quick as they can.
Here,
No, Raymond's been great. we've kept him too long.
Yeah, we're gonna let you go. Hey, Pierre, be careful of those police too. We keep hearing she's warning you there. So
Yeah, they're
watch out.
pulling over the bad. They're pulling over the bad guys. I'm one of the good guys. All right.
Listen, Ray, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for joining us here, and enjoy the rest of your summer. All right.
Oh, thanks for reaching out. Take care, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Raymond.
All right,
See
Ray
ya.
Bourque, join us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Yeah, I mean, I know we remember talking to him. I think it was around this time last year too, Pierre, when we had him on, and I just remember him breaking down Charlie's game and going. At the time, Charlie was getting a lot of flack, if you remember, in the media and from fans, and he was defending him. And he's a huge fan of Charlie McAvoy, and I'm with him. I think the kid's gonna have a great year.
So do I. I just don't know how good the team around him is going to be, but I think he's going to be very good.
Yep.
I just want to say this because I hope Raymond's still listening. He's as tough as any man that's ever played in the league. I'm just telling you.
Oh yeah.
Like, he played in that small Boston Garden, and every team would come in, whether he was wearing number 7 or whether he's wearing 77. It didn't matter. They would circle that number before every game that he played.
I don't know if you remember it, Pierre. I want to say it was 90. It was the second year the second time they faced Edmonton in the playoffs. So in the opening round, they're playing the Hartford Whalers. It was a 7-game series, and he was pretty much ruled out for Game 7. Everyone thought he wasn't going to play because he was really banged up. I don't remember what the injury was, but he was playing hurt bad. And this is only in the opening round. And he comes out for warm-ups, and the place erupts. And then they're still not sure. He's still a game-time decision. And then when he came out onto the ice, he was the last one to come out for the game when the teams came on the ice, and he just took the game over. I think he had like a goal and assist, and they won that series, and they went on to make the final there. But I'm with you, man. There was so many times where he was really toughing out some serious injury along the way, and he put the Bruins on his back a lot. Would you not agree?
Well, especially, yes. Like, you got to remember the Odd in Buffalo, the Garden in Boston, the Colisée in Quebec. They were all different size ice surfaces, and it became really difficult for skilled defensemen to make plays in a lot of those buildings. And I can just tell you, Jimmy, like, I'm not afraid to tell you, there was a lot of stuff happening that would never be good today. You couldn't do that. You could not do that stuff today. I'm just telling you. And part of it was Raymond was a left shot that played on the right side a lot. So we would create different forecheck patterns because we knew where the puck was exposed to. And I'm telling you, and he hated giving the puck up. He loved to own it. And it led to a lot of problems for him. I mean, physically, but he was so darn tough and so good. If you didn't play him that way because he played so many minutes, you get in trouble. And Jimmy, I can tell you this is back in the old days. One of the ways the Bruins would try to slow the game down was Raymond would switch gloves from the ice. He'd skate over to the bench because he would play so much, his gloves would be full of perspiration. So we tracked it on video. He doesn't even know. I never told him this, but we tracked it on video and sent it to the league and said, look it, he either gets off the ice and gets new gloves, or he stays on the ice with the wet gloves, but he can't keep coming over for 30 and 40-second sound bites and getting a break.
Yep.
And the league sided with us.
Wow. That must have not made the Bruins happy.
Well, I don't know if they even knew, but I'm telling you now, like, look at the truth of the matter was he was just so good. And we were trying to just find trends that were involved in him being able to log all these massive minutes. He was so darn good. He was so good. It was scary.
Here, that 92 one too, when you guys beat them in the conference final in 92 again.
Yeah.
That team had no business being in the conference final. I mean, I think they were like 4th or 5th most injuries ever in an NHL season.
Rick Bowness was their coach. I think it's 56 different players.
Yeah.
He had to coach in the NHL. 56 different guys.
So just
think about that.
Perfect, that's an example of what I'm saying. Like, that was a year where
I agree with that.
Bourque carried them. It was unreal. He had no Neely.
No, my God, no. It was totally different. What's interesting about that is Mike O'Connell was one assistant coach and Gordie Clark was the other.
Well, Gordie Clark.
So in game 3 in Boston, I started hearing on the headset, because I got the headset and I'm coaching the D, I'm hearing Mike O'Connell in the warm-up talking to Gordie Clark on the bench, except he's not talking to Gordie, he's talking to me. The frequencies had been fouled up.
Oh,
I was
no.
supposed to be. Now it wasn't during the game, it was in the warm-up. Mike will remember that, so will Gordie, and so will Barry Smith. So I was supposed to be talking to Barry, and Mike was supposed to be talking to Gordie Clark, and they had it
Wow.
switched on the frequencies. So I said to Mike O'Connell, I said, look, it's McGuire. I apologize, but I'm hearing you, and I'm sure Barry's probably talking to Gordie. And so they fixed it after the warm-up, but it's a good thing that Mike actually checked the headset, because I usually never checked it in the warm-up. But it just shows you how much things have changed. Could you imagine?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's
That
hilarious.
happened.
Good stuff. All right, let's get to our sponsors here. We'll go over to Betway, where you can go all the way with Betway and still get that amazing deal. If you're a new member, you sign up right now with the QR code right in front of you, and sign up for your membership, and you will get up to $200 credit, even if your first bet loses. And if you're not watching, you can go to the website, go to the details section there, and create your account. You have to be 18 plus. The offer is not available in Ontario. Terms and conditions apply, and always bet responsibly. Let's go to my sick pick of the night.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
Well, that red light's been lighting a lot in this series so far, Pierre. We've had a lot of offense. I have a weird feeling back in Florida, the game's going to get a little tighter and a little more low scoring, and become a little more of a defensive game tonight. I'm liking the under 7. That's a pretty high over-under to be able to get. So if you can get it still, take the under 7. I don't see them scoring more than 7 goals. I think it tightens up. I think Florida might put the clamp down on as well. So I'm liking that under. And as far as goal scorers go, on the Edmonton side, give me Evan Bouchard at plus 450 value. And on the Florida side, in for his first game in the final, coming in, the aforementioned AJ Greer. I think he's going to light one tonight. I think he gets one on the fourth line there, plus 1,100 value. Why not take a chance on that? That's some great value there for a grinder to get a goal. We'll see what happens. Let's go to the Q&A. All right, Bill Van Viegel asks, how many of their UFAs you predict Florida signs out of Ekblad, Marchand, Bennett, and Sturm? I don't think all of them, Pierre. What do you think? I mean, somebody's going to be on a different team, I think, just because of financial issues. It's not that they don't want them. It's just that they're going to have to prioritize and keep some and let others go. Do you think they can keep all of them?
No, I don't think they'll keep all of them, but I think you'll be surprised at the numbers and the guys they keep. I think there'll be some hometown not huge discounts, but I think there'll be some discounts given by some of these players.
Yeah.
Nico Sturm's a good player. I don't think they'll keep him. I think they like Nosek more. Sturm will get a job somewhere in the NHL, but he's already been replaced by Nico Sturm or by Thomas Nosek. But I think Bennett's going to stay there. I do.
I do too.
I really do.
I think Marchand stays as well, even though he might be able to, hit the lottery on the open market. I just think he just seems to fit that team so perfect, Pierre. And I think when you get to that age, right, and you're in your career, especially if he wins a cup, it's not really about the money anymore. It's just about finding that right spot and the right team. I'm
so happy to hear you say that, because I haven't heard a lot of people say this, Jimmy. But this is one thing. I wish Raymond was here when you brought that up. Legacy matters, because Raymond talked about it.
Yep.
The legacy of players who have been great players, and people will always say, yeah, great player, but he never won. Or they'll say, the guy was a good player, but he won the cup 3 times.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So the great player, just like, he's a great player, but he never won. Or the good player, he's a good player, but he won the cup 3 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So legacy matters when it comes to that. And it's hard to think that the Florida Panthers, whether they win this year or not, aren't going to be good for a long time.
I agree. I think they're here to stay for a while. All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, do you think Ekblad would be a fit with the Flames? I like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
He's not as good offensively as what people say he is, but he's a tough kid. He's coachable. Raymond talked about all the players that are getting better. Sylvain Lefebvre coaches the defense there, and all the players there have gotten better. Jimmy, we've talked about it a lot.
Yes.
All the players, Sylvain's done a really good job with that defense. They've all gotten better, and he's one of them that has.
Yep. All right. Next question. What do we got? A to Z me watching these two teams play, it becomes very apparent that they're miles ahead of all the other NHL teams. You guys think we could see a part 3 next year? I do. Maybe.
I don't.
It's very hard to do, though. It's very hard.
Really difficult. I think they're teams that are trending up in the East and the West. You got to remember, Toronto went to 7 games with Florida, and if they hadn't blown up in Game 4, which they did, and then the way they played in 5 and 7, we wouldn't be talking about Florida being a juggernaut. Toronto didn't handle the later part of that series very well. And that's just one example. But I look out West. I think there are teams that are starting to trend up in the West. Free agency is going to be very interesting to watch, especially for no-tax state teams. That's not saying that that's because there's no tax that these teams aren't good. It's because players see that and they want to go.
Yeah.
But you still have to identify the team-building aspect of it.
Yep.
So,
yep. I agree. All
you
right.
can't really say all this stuff except to say I do not think we'll see a round 3 of it. I do not.
All right. Next question. Juice _031017. Jimmy and Pierre, where were you guys? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's also the anniversary of the Montreal Canadiens winning the Stanley Cup 32 years ago today. Juice wants to know where we were, Pierre, when that happened. I'll just say quickly, I was in Aruba watching in my hotel room. Pierre?
Yeah, I was in my office in Hartford, Connecticut, breaking down tape, getting ready for them the year after. So, yeah,
last Canadian team to do it.
Yeah.
So, all right, next question. Franco, is Nick Hague a fit in Montreal? Rumors have them being interested, which is surprising, as Gorton and Hughes usually run a tight ship and moves come out of left field, i.e. Alex Carrier. Yeah, I've seen that rumor, Franco. But as you make the great point there, there's not many leaks out of Montreal. So I think that's more speculation on some journalists' part as opposed to an actual interest there. I'm not saying they aren't, but I'm with you. I'd tread carefully with that one. That's all.
I don't disagree with Jimmy often. I think what's going on here is they're trying to create marketplace. This happens a lot where a team wants to move a player, they want to measure marketplace, and then they want to try to create marketplace. So I think that's what's going on here. Anytime you're reading names of players now coming from the quote-unquote insiders, you're reading those names because teams are trying to generate marketplace.
Okay, gotcha. All right, next question. Kathleen, why isn't Bennett being investigated by Department of Player Safety for trying to injure another goalie after accidentally, quote-unquote, falling on Skinner? Then watching Tkachuk congratulate him, it was a dirty play. Look, Kathleen, it frustrates me at times too, but, he gets away with it. I look at it this way, Pierre. When it comes to, Bennett getting away with some things, you can argue he does. You can argue he doesn't. But if teams are upset about it, well, then they should try to do the same thing. If they're not going to call it on him, then go do it to their goalie and see what happens. See if it stops.
There's one other way of dealing with that.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, and nobody's done it yet, which is very interesting.
Yes. But
don't like it? You don't like it? Take care of it yourself.
Exactly.
You don't think the league's handling it properly? Take care of it yourself. You're going to think that I'm a knuckle dragger and draconian and old school.
I don't.
But that's the reality of the business. It's a hard game played by very hard people who are not adverse to doing very difficult things.
Agreed. All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, if you're the Bruins, do you try and move up in the draft? Yeah, you definitely try. I don't know if they'll be able to, but I don't see why you wouldn't try. They definitely need to hit it right with this draft pick. One thing, Pierre, I'll let you answer in a second, but I wanted to bring this up. I'm glad Randy asked that there was a column by our great friend Kevin Paul DuPont yesterday where I'm not sure if it was a scrum or if it was a one-on-one. It seemed like it was probably a scrum from up at the NHL Combine. Kevin was asking Ryan Nadeau some questions just about the draft and everything. And what was interesting was he went out of his way. He wasn't prompted. From what I saw, nobody really asked it. He twice went out of his way, Pierre, to leave the option open or leave the idea open that they might trade that pick for an NHL body if they can get it. And I thought it was very interesting. And we were talking about trying to create marketplace. I felt like that was the Bruins maybe sending smoke signals out. What do you think?
One other smoke signal that's been going on in the eye test for a very long time. This is a vastly overrated draft, and the decision makers know that. Okay?
Yep.
They've known it for a long time. Why do you think so many first-round picks got included in trades?
Yep. It's true.
We've been talking about this forever.
Since like January, I feel like.
I mean, once I started seeing these guys just jettisoning first-round picks, if you're going to trade a first-round pick, you always have to run it up the flagpole to ownership. And you have to explain to ownership why you're doing that. Because one of the most treasured, now I know it's a different draft this year, but one of the most treasured things for owners, people don't want to hear this, but I will tell you, is to go up on the podium with their general manager, with the guy they took in the first round, hoping he's going to be the next Patrick Kane or the next Sidney Crosby or the next Rick Nash or the next Mario Lemieux. When you own a team, that's your Super Bowl.
Yep.
Going up on the podium and getting your picture taken right next to the guy you took with the first round pick. So all these guys, nobody talks about this. I'm shocked. Like the owners, you got to run it up the flagpole when you trade a first round pick. It's not just like, oh, go ahead and throw it away. I don't care. Yeah. They all care.
Of course. I know. It's just interesting. Like it was almost like they were really trying to get, and I wonder if that was sent down from above and they told Nadeau to say that. I don't know. It's very interesting. They don't usually, the Bruins never talk like that. So I thought it stood out to me that he said that to Dupes. All right. Next question. Juice _031017. According to Cam Robinson from Elite Prospects, Utah really likes top prospect Brady Martin. Should they move down a few spots and pick him or draft him at 4th overall?
Brady Martin probably going to go between 4 and 6. So they really like him.
They'll take him.
Who did Cam Robinson say the Bruins were hiring as a coach?
Marco Sturm, but he said it 2 weeks before it happened, I think.
Oh, so he got that right. Okay, I remember he was one of the. Yeah, okay.
He got it right. He was just a little.
He got it right. That's why I want to give credit where credit's due. But he did. Yep. He did say Marco Sturm. So good. That's why I'm saying. So if he's putting that out there, his track record on Bruin stuff, especially this one, is correct.
Yep.
So I'm just telling you, Brady Martin's, I think, going between 4 and 6.
All right. Next question. Zahal, how much do NHL teams and their scouts pay attention to what is going on in the ECHL?
A lot. And so you're probably talking about what happened in Trois-Rivières.
Congratulations to them.
Yeah. Most of the East, I think they all went out today. The protected lists for all these teams went out, I think, today or yesterday. So you'll be able to see who is, I know Iowa, their list went out today. So you'll be able to see who was protected by these teams and who wasn't. But, they pay a lot of attention.
Yep, you are correct, Pierre. I'm looking at it right now. It went out this morning.
So there you go.
There you go. All right, next question. Bill Van Vegal, I saw a pic of John Brophy the other day and smiled thinking of his antics. Do either of you have any John Brophy stories?
Oh.
Pierre, I'll let you.
I coach against John. I had a lot of really good nights with John and Al McIsaac, who was his longtime playing assistant and assistant. Nothing but respect for John. He coached one of my real good friends, Davey Allison, and I remember Davey got in a big fight playing for Nova Scotia in the American League, and Davey tells a story far better than I do, but Brof was really upset with his team, and Ali had been in a titanic fight with somebody really tough, and he was bleeding all over. So Brof went up to him. Look at Renzi. Look at Renzi. He's not afraid. He's fighting for you guys. Look at the blood all over. And he went and wiped his hand on the blood and started wiping it on the guys' uniforms, saying, "You got to be as tough as Renzi." Oh, Brof was great. I had a very good afternoon with him once in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I had a ton of fun with him.
Yeah, he seemed like a guy. I didn't know him, but he seemed like a great guy. All right, next question.
He was awesome, man. He was a lot of fun.
Bill Van Vegal again. Matt Dumba didn't play any playoff games for the Stars. Why is that? Will he be bought out? Could the Habs use him as a potential free agent sign or a trade target?
I'm not comfortable talking about that.
Okay, next question. Bill Van Vegal, would Dale Hunter ever go back to coach in the NHL? Do teams even bother to gauge his interest anymore?
Boy, if there would have been one, it would have been Philly, because he's so close with Keith Jones. He was the mentor to Keith Jones in Washington when Jones came out of Western Michigan University, just like Mark Recchi was a mentor to Brad Marchand. Same kind of relationship.
Okay.
So if there would have been one team for him to go back to, I think it would have been, obviously Philly, but, it wasn't. So I'd be surprised if he went back.
All right. Next question. Bill Van Vegal again, most likely to be the next Dallas Stars head coach, Neil Graham, Todd Nelson, Dallas Aikens, Jay Woodcroft, or UC Yohokas?
I'm going to say either Todd Nelson or Neil Graham.
I'm with Pierre on that one. All right, next question. Franco, a lot of chatter as usual surrounding player moves, signings, and different teams. How do you see this offseason going? Do you believe there will be a lot of activity in rosters, player movement? I do.
Yes.
I think there's going to be a lot. All right, next question. Juice_031-017. Pierre, your thoughts on the upcoming Calder Cup final between Charlotte and Abbotsford? Lots of travel.
A lot of travel. I talked to the boys before that. Lots of travel, not easy. I think Charlotte's got a bit of an edge, a little bit more experience, but there are a lot of good players playing for Abbotsford. And this is really Jordy Kinnear is the coach down in Charlotte. He's a longtime New Jersey Devil. And Manny Malhotra is the coach in Abbotsford. And Manny's they're both very good coaches. It's a great coaching matchup. A little bit of an edge to Charlotte because I think they have a little more experience. They got out of their series a lot sooner because they were able to sweep Montreal, or Laval, I should say. So, yeah, no, I think a little bit of an edge. Not a lot, a little bit of an edge to Charlotte.
All right, next question. Juice_031-017. Question. Jeff Skinner has the same amount of goals as Trent Frederick in the playoffs despite playing 16 less games. Will Skinner get a chance to play tonight?
I don't think so.
No, I think as of game time skate, let me just look at the lines again. I didn't see him in there, Pierre.
I don't think so. I was checking it earlier.
Nope, Frederick's back in there. Frederick, Henry, and Connor Brown still the third line.
Oh, they need, no disrespect meant to Jeff Skinner, but they need some serious artillery tonight. Tonight's going to be, I think, bedlam.
Well, the one way I don't know where they'd slot him, but if Nuge doesn't play, Pierre, he might draw in.
Nugent Hopkins is playing.
He's going to play. Okay. Next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre. Chris Johnston is saying that Marchand wants a 3 to 4 year contract. Do you see teams going on board with that?
Yeah, I could see it as long as it's a rate AAV.
Yep.
I
wouldn't go more than 3 right now. No, and that's not a knock on him, Pierre.
No, you're not knocking him, but we agree. Yeah. That's why the camp leaked it to Chris Johnson 3 or 4 years. So it comes down to the AAV. That's what it comes down to.
All right, next question. Joseph Cohen. Hey, Pierre, I can understand a GM overpaying a player they think will be a star, but how does a GM end up overpaying depth players? Look at Dumba, Labushkin, and how can it be avoided? I love Jim Nill, by the way.
So do I.
So do we. Yep.
Yep. They made some. So a lot of times you're looking at your roster saying we're not deep enough. We just lost in the Western Conference Final. We didn't have enough juice on the back end. We're going to need to do something. So that's where teams get into a little bit of trouble. It happens with every team, by the way. It's not just Dallas.
No.
They're all, look at, I'm not going to mention players' names because it's not their fault. I don't blame them at all. I'd take the money too. But there are a lot of guys that have been overpaid in this league for a long time. That's just the way it goes.
Yep. It happens. All right, next question. Zahal, how much do teams look at youth sports in Canada, Pierre?
They do. They do. I coached, a couple players out of youth sport that were really good players. I think it's harder for them to make it now because there's so many different platforms for them to play before they get to youth sports, including major, junior. And now with the new rules, a lot of those guys will be coming to play college hockey in the States. But no, you guys can do it. Guys can definitely do it.
All right, and that's it for our questions today. Big thanks to Ray Bourque for joining us. That was a fun interview, huh, Pierre?
Yeah, Raymond's great. Good job by you, Jimmy, getting him. Raymond's great.
All right, and tomorrow we will be joined by Gene Principe out of Edmonton to get the Oilers' perspective on the game tonight and looking ahead in this series. Thanks to Shane working the boards up there. Thanks to all of you for your questions and everyone listening and watching. And Pierre, thank you to you. I know you're a busy man. How many more interviews we got left?
2 more today. We're good.
All right,
good.
you're almost there, Pierre. Enjoy the
All right,
hockey
Jimmy.
tonight, my friend.
I'll talk to you later. Okay, see you later.
All right,
Thanks,
Pierre
everybody.
McGuire,
Bye-bye.
Jimmy Murphy here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. We will see you tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.